When my daughter-in-law emptied my retirement account, I thought my world had ended. Days later, I was sitting across from her boss, being offered ownership of their entire company. That's when I realized life isn't just a game of chess. It's Russian roulette with your trust. If you're watching this, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments if you've ever been betrayed by family. Because this story is about to get more twisted than a tornado in a trailer park. I never thought I'd be telling this story. Even now, my hands shake as I remember that morning last spring when everything I believed about family loyalty shattered like a mirror in an earthquake. I was enjoying my retirement, sipping my morning coffee and watching cardinals at my bird feeder when my phone buzzed with what looked like a routine alert from my bank. Unusual activity detected in your account. I almost dismissed it. After all, I'd given Sheila, my son Ethan's wife of 3 years, access to help manage my finances while I focused on my retirement hobbies. She was an accountant, for heaven's sake. What could go wrong? Everything as it turned out. My fingers trembled as I logged into my account. The numbers didn't make sense at first. Where there should have been 6 figures carefully saved over decades, I saw decimals in places there shouldn't be decimals. Transfers I never authorized. Withdrawals I never made. $347,892 gone. Just gone. I called Ethan immediately, my voice cracking as I tried to explain what I was seeing. His silence on the other end told me everything I needed to know. When he finally spoke, his words came out in a whisper. "Mom, I think we need to talk about Sheila." That conversation would be the first domino in a chain reaction that would expose not just financial theft, but a web of lies, affairs, and corporate corruption that would shake our entire community. But sitting there that morning, watching my retirement savings vanish like smoke, I had no idea that this betrayal was just the beginning. Script part separator ===. I drove to Ethan and Sheila's house in a daze, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. Their perfect suburban home, the one I'd helped them buy with a generous down payment, seemed to mock me now. Sheila's prized roses lined the walkway, blooming with money I now wondered if I'd unknowingly provided. Ethan met me at the door, his face ashen. "She's in the kitchen," he said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Mom, I swear I didn't know." The woman sitting at their granite kitchen island wasn't the polished accountant I'd known for 3 years. Sheila's mascara had left dark streams down her cheeks, and her usually perfect hair was a mess. She looked up when I entered, and for a moment, I saw something flash in her eyes. Not guilt, but calculation. "I can explain everything," she started, but I cut her off. "Save it for the police," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Where's my money, Sheila?" She laughed then, a horrible, brittle sound. "The police? You wouldn't dare. Not if you knew what I know about Murdoch and Associates." I froze. Murdoch and Associates was the accounting firm where she worked, one of the most prestigious in our city. What did they have to do with this? "Are you threatening me?" I asked, incredulous. "I'm protecting you," she said, standing up. "Mom, can I still call you that? There are things happening at the firm. Big things. Your money, it's complicated." "Uncomplicated," I demanded. That's when my phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. "Mrs. Harrison, this is Austin Murdoch. We need to talk about your daughter-in-law and your investment portfolio. Urgently." I looked up to find Sheila watching me, a strange smile playing at her lips. "See? It's already starting." "What's starting?" Ethan demanded, looking between us. But before either of us could answer, there was a knock at the door. Through the decorative glass panels, I could see 2 men in dark suits standing on the porch. Sheila's face went white. "They're early," she whispered. "Whatever you do, don't tell them about the offshore accounts." Offshore accounts? My head spun. What had my daughter-in-law gotten me into? The knocking came again, more insistent this time. Ethan moved to answer it, but I grabbed his arm. "Nobody moves until I get answers," I said, surprising myself with the steel in my voice. But Sheila was already heading for the back door, her heels clicking on the tile. "Trust me," she called over her shoulder. "You don't want those answers." "Not yet." And just like that, she was gone, leaving me with a confused son, Two mysterious men at the door, and the sickening realization that my missing retirement fund might be the least of my problems. Script part separator equals. The next hour became a blur of revelations that made my missing money seem almost quaint. The men at the door weren't police or federal agents as I'd feared. They were private investigators hired by Austin Murdoch himself. According to them, Sheila wasn't just stealing from me. She was part of a larger scheme that threatened to bring down the entire firm. Mrs. Harrison, the taller one, said, introducing himself as Jack Reeves, "We've been tracking suspicious transactions for months. Your daughter-in-law has been moving money through multiple accounts, including yours. But she's not working alone." My mind raced back to all those late nights she claimed to be working at the office. The mysterious phone calls. The sudden business trips. Even Ethan looked sick as the investigators laid out their evidence, spreadsheets, photos, surveillance reports. "There's more," the other investigator, Martinez, added. "We have reason to believe she's been romantically involved with one of the senior partners." Ethan's coffee mug shattered on the floor.
What?
I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I felt dirty, like I'd been unknowingly cast in someone else's scandal. But the real shock came when they revealed their true purpose for visiting. "Mr. Murdoch would like to meet with you," Reeves said, sliding a business card across the table. "Tomorrow morning. He has a proposition that might help resolve this situation quietly." "Quietly?" I scoffed. "She stole my life savings. And Mr. Murdoch can help you recover every penny," Martinez assured me. "Plus interest. But time is critical. The firm's annual audit starts next week." After they left, Ethan collapsed into a chair, his face in his hands. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I should have seen this coming." I wanted to comfort him, but anger had replaced my shock. "How long?" I demanded. "How long has she been lying to both of us?" "I don't know," he whispered. "But last month, she asked me to sign some papers. Said they were for a refinance. I didn't even read them." My blood ran cold. "Show me." He disappeared into his home office and returned with a folder. Inside were documents with both their signatures and mine. Except I had never signed them. She forged my signature. I breathed, the implications hitting me like a physical blow. This isn't just theft. This is fraud. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Murdoch. "Bring those papers tomorrow.
9 Uhr morgens.
Come alone." I looked at my son, at the ruins of his marriage scattered across the kitchen floor like that broken coffee mug. "I'm going to fix this," I promised him. "But first, I need a lawyer." What I didn't know then was that the lawyer I called, my old friend Gerald, had his own connections to Murdoch and Associates. Connections that would turn this family drama into something far more dangerous than I could have imagined. Script part separator equals. I met Gerald at his office that evening, after hours when his staff had gone home. The downtown lights twinkled through his corner office windows, but there was nothing sparkly about his expression when I showed him the forged documents. "This is serious, Margaret," he said, adjusting his reading glasses. "We're not just talking about domestic theft anymore. These transactions, they cross state lines. That makes it federal." "I just want my money back," I insisted. "And to understand why." Gerald's face did something strange then, a twitch I'd never seen in 30 years of friendship. "Tell me again about this meeting Murdoch requested." "Tomorrow at 9. He said he has a proposition." "Don't go." Gerald's response was too quick, too sharp. "Let me handle this through proper channels." But before I could press him about his unusual reaction, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen and stepped out of the office to take the call, leaving me alone with the scattered evidence of Sheila's betrayal. Curiosity got the better of me. I shouldn't have looked, but his computer screen was still open to a document titled Murdoch Holdings, Offshore Assets. And there, in black and white, was Gerald's name, linked to a Cayman Islands account with numbers that made my stolen retirement look like pocket change. My trusted friend and lawyer was involved with them too. I heard his footsteps returning and quickly moved away from the desk. But when he came back in, I knew my face must have shown something, because he stopped dead in his tracks. "Margaret." "Save it," I said, gathering my papers. "I think I'll take that meeting with Murdoch after all." You don't understand what you're walking into, Gerald warned, reaching for my arm. I yanked away from him. No, you don't understand. I'm done being the victim here. Tomorrow, I'm going to find out exactly what kind of game you're all playing. As I drove home, my phone lit up with texts from Gerald, from Ethan, even one from Sheila. I ignored them all. But I did read the last one from Murdoch. Looking forward to our chat. Bring an open mind and your checkbook. You might find yourself on the other side of this equation. What did that mean? I didn't know. But I spent the night doing something I hadn't done since my husband died. I cleaned his old service revolver and tucked it into my purse. Something told me tomorrow's meeting would require more than just financial expertise. Script part separator . The offices of Murdoch and Associates occupied the top 3 floors of the city's most prestigious building. As the elevator climbed to the 47th floor, my husband's revolver felt heavy in my purse. I touched it for reassurance, remembering how he taught me to shoot after we were first married. The receptionist led me straight to Austin Murdoch's corner office. He stood as I entered, tall, silver-haired. Exactly the kind of man you'd trust with your money. That should have been my first warning. Margaret Harrison, he smiled, extending his hand.
I've heard so much about you.
Wish I could say the same, I replied, ignoring his handshake. Where's my money, Mr. Murdoch? Please sit. He gestured to a leather chair. Let's discuss something more interesting than missing funds. Like how you're going to help me save this firm. I almost laughed. Help you? After what your employee did to me. Sheila made mistakes, he acknowledged, but she was following orders. My orders, to be specific. My hand instinctively moved toward my purse. He noticed. No need for dramatics, Mrs. Harrison. I assure you, this is a business proposition. You see, we have a problem. The annual audit starts Monday. Your retirement fund isn't the only money that's been redistributed. You mean stolen. Invested, he corrected smoothly. In various offshore opportunities. Unfortunately, one of those investments went bad. Very bad. We need to show clean books by Monday, or the whole firm collapses. And I should care because, he leaned forward. I'm offering you ownership of Murdoch and Associates. 30% of the company, to be exact. Worth far more than what you lost. In exchange for what? Your silence. And a small cash injection to cover certain irregularities. Say, $5 million. I stared at him. You want me to invest more money in the firm that stole from me? Think of it as buying at the bottom, he smiled. Unless you'd prefer I release evidence showing your son's involvement in the scheme? My blood ran cold. Ethan wasn't involved. Are you sure? Have you asked him about the offshore account in his name? The one Sheila opened with his forged signature. And yours? That's when I realized this wasn't a meeting. It was a trap. And I had walked right into it. Script part separator . Before I could respond, the office door opened and Sheila walked in, looking nothing like the crying mess from yesterday. She was polished, confident, standing beside Murdoch like she belonged there. I told you she'd come, Sheila said, smirking. Mother always did fancy herself a shrewd businesswoman. Don't call me Mother, I snapped, my hand tightening around the gun in my purse. You lost that right when you stole from me. Oh, please, she rolled her eyes. That money was practically begging to be put to better use. Do you know what the return rates are on Cayman investments? Of course you don't. You were too busy feeding birds. Murdoch cleared his throat. Ladies, let's focus on solutions. Mrs. Harrison, you have 24 hours to decide. Either bring the $5 million and become a partner, or watch your son face federal charges. And what about Gerald? I asked, watching their faces carefully. Does he know you're making this offer? Something flickered in Murdoch's eyes. Gerald has been removed from the equation. My blood turned to ice. What had they done to my oldest friend? He had an unfortunate accident this morning, Sheila explained, examining her manicure. Terrible thing, falling downstairs at his age. I stood up, so quickly my chair toppled backward. You're insane. Both of you. No, Murdoch said calmly. We're survivors. And now you have a choice to make. Join us or lose everything. I backed toward the door, my mind racing. They had Ethan's forged signatures, Gerald was injured or worse, and I was standing in a room with two sociopaths who had just admitted to multiple federal crimes. But they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd assumed I came unprepared. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone, I think the FBI agents in the lobby might want to hear what you just said. I pressed stop on the recording app, watching their faces transform from smug confidence to shocked horror. You didn't, Sheila whispered. I did, I smiled. And that's not the only copy. Script part separator ===. Murdoch moved faster than I expected for a man his age, lunging across his desk. But I was already backing toward the door, my phone held high. You have no idea what you're doing, he snarled. Actually, I know exactly what I'm doing, I replied. 3 copies of that recording were uploaded to secure locations the moment I stopped recording. And if anything happens to me, they go straight to the SEC, FBI, and every major news outlet in the country. Sheila's perfect composure cracked. You're bluffing. Try me. After all, you taught me about having backup plans, didn't you, dear? The sound of running footsteps in the hallway made us all freeze. The office door burst open, revealing 2 men in FBI windbreakers, weapons drawn. FBI. Everyone on the ground. I've never seen 2 powerful people deflate so quickly. As Murdoch and Sheila were cuffed and read their rights, Agent Wilson, who I'd met with at dawn that morning, helped me to a chair. You okay, Mrs. Harrison? I nodded, watching my daughter-in-law being led away in handcuffs. She turned back once, her face a mask of pure hatred. This isn't over, she spat. Actually, it is, I replied calmly. By the way, Gerald's fine. He was working with the FBI all along. Those stairs you thought he fell down? That was just an excuse to get him to the safe house where he's been documenting everything. The look of shocked betrayal on her face was almost worth everything she'd put me through. Almost. As I left the building that afternoon, my phone buzzed one last time. A text from Ethan. Mom, we need to talk. I found something in Sheila's home office. I sighed. Apparently, this wasn't quite over after all. Script part separator ===. I met Ethan at a quiet coffee shop across town, away from the chaos unfolding at Murdoch and Associates. He looked exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes that reminded me painfully of his father. Look at this, he said, sliding a USB drive across the table. I found it hidden in a false bottom of Sheila's jewelry box. What's on it? Names. Dates. Account numbers. Mom, this goes way beyond what they did to you. There are hundreds of victims. I stared at the small device that held so many secrets. Have you looked at everything? He hesitated. Not everything. There's a folder with my name on it. I couldn't bring myself to open it. Do you want to know? I don't know, he admitted, his voice cracking. What if I really was involved somehow? What if she did things in my name that I don't know about? Before I could respond, my phone rang. It was Agent Wilson. Mrs. Harrison, we need you both to come in. Now. We found something in Murdoch's personal safe that changes everything. What is it? I asked, watching Ethan's face grow even paler. Your husband's name is all over these documents. From before he died. The coffee shop seemed to tilt sideways. My late husband? The decorated police detective? What could he possibly have to do with any of this? That's impossible, I whispered. Mrs. Harrison, Agent Wilson's voice was gentle but firm. When exactly did Sheila first come into your lives? And suddenly, with horrible clarity, I remembered. She hadn't met Ethan by chance at all. She'd sought him out 3 months after my husband's funeral. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about revenge. Script part separator ===. I sat in the FBI conference room, staring at documents that threatened to destroy not just my present, but my past. Photos of my late husband meeting with Murdoch years ago. Bank statements showing transfers to numbered accounts. And most devastating of all, surveillance photos of him with Sheila, dated 2 years before she ever met Ethan. Your husband was investigating Murdoch, Agent Wilson explained. Deep undercover. But something went wrong. The car accident, I whispered. The crash that had killed him had always seemed too perfect, too clean. Ethan gripped my hand. Sheila was his informant, Wilson continued. Until she flipped. Started working for Murdoch instead. We think your husband was about to expose them when they killed him, I finished, my voice hollow. And then sent her to destroy what was left of our family. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. The way she'd pursued Ethan so aggressively. How quickly she'd worked to gain my trust, to access our finances. It hadn't been random greed, it was calculated destruction. There's more, Wilson said, sliding another folder across the table. We found this in Murdoch's private safe. It's a list of targets. Other families they've destroyed. Other cops He didn't need to finish. The list was long. Too long. What happens now? Ethan asked, his voice raw. Now, I said, standing up, we finish what your father started. Wilson raised an eyebrow. Mrs. Harrison, you need someone they trust, I cut in. Someone they think they've beaten. Someone who can get close enough to find the rest of their operation. It's dangerous, Wilson warned. I thought of my husband, of his dedication to justice, of how they'd turn his death into a weapon against his own family. Good, I replied. Because I want them to see me coming. Script part separator . The next morning, I walked into the federal courthouse wearing my best suit and my fiercest determination. Murdoch and Sheila were being arraigned, and I intended to look them in the eye from the front row. But when the defendants were brought in, Sheila wasn't among them. Where is she? I hissed to Agent Wilson. His face was grim. She escaped custody during transport. We have teams searching, but my blood ran cold. I knew exactly where she'd go. I was already running for my car when Wilson caught up. Mrs. Harrison, wait. You can't. But I was already peeling out of the parking lot, breaking every speed limit between the courthouse and my house. My instincts were screaming, the USB drive. The one with all the evidence. I'd locked it in my home safe, but if Sheila knew about my husband's investigation, she might also know about his hiding spots. I screeched into my driveway to find the front door slightly ajar. Inside, the house was eerily quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that masks someone's presence. I drew my husband's revolver, moving silently through rooms he'd once filled with laughter. The safe room was at the back of the house, hidden behind a false wall in my closet. As I approached, I heard the faint sound of metal on metal. Sheila's voice drifted through the door. I knew you'd come, Mother. You're so predictable. Like father, like wife, she continued, her voice dripping with venom. He was predictable too, right up until the end. I thumbed off the safety. The difference is I'm still breathing. For now, she replied. But first, you're going to open this safe. Unless you want Ethan to meet with an unfortunate accident too. My finger tightened on the trigger. You really want to threaten my son right now? Her laugh was cold enough to freeze hell. Oh, I'm not threatening. He's already with some friends of mine. Waiting. So, let's discuss terms, shall we? Script part separator . The safe room suddenly felt very small. Every maternal instinct screamed at me to protect Ethan, but decades of experience told me Sheila was lying. She was cornered, desperate. You're bluffing, I said, inching closer to the door. Ethan's with the FBI. Are you sure about that? Her voice had that silky confidence I'd grown to hate. Check your phone. I kept my gun trained on the door while glancing at my screen. There was a new message from Ethan's number with a photo attachment. My heart stopped when I opened it. The picture showed Ethan, apparently unconscious, slumped in a chair. A newspaper from today was visible in the frame. Photoshop, I said, but my voice wavered. The code to the safe, Mother.
Now.
Or the next photo won't be so peaceful. I had seconds to decide. Trust my instincts or risk my son's life. But something about the photo nagged at me, the newspaper. It was the morning edition, but Ethan had been with me at the courthouse when that paper hit the stands. Nice try, I said, steadying my grip on the gun. But your timing's off. Like always. The silence from the other side of the door was deafening. Then I heard it, the soft click of her own weapon being cocked. You know what your husband's last words were? She taunted. He begged for your life, not his. Promised to keep quiet if we left you alone. Such a waste of breath. That was her final mistake. Because in that moment of gloating, she'd revealed her position behind the door. And more importantly, she'd given me the one thing I needed, certainty. I fired through the door, just like my husband had taught me years ago.
2 shots center mass.
The thud of her body hitting the floor was followed by a gasping curse. When I pushed the door open, Sheila lay bleeding but alive, her unfired gun just out of reach. He'd be so proud, she spat, blood staining her perfect teeth. You never knew him, I replied, kicking her weapon away. And you never knew me. As sirens wailed in the distance, I kept my gun trained on the woman who'd tried to destroy everything I loved. But there was one thing she hadn't counted on. You can't break something that's already been forged in fire. Script part separator . The FBI arrived minutes later, swarming my house like angry bees. Agent Wilson took one look at the scene and shook his head in what might have been admiration or exasperation. You just couldn't wait for backup, could you? Mother knows best, I said, watching paramedics load Sheila onto a stretcher. She'll live. Unfortunately.
We found Ethan, Wilson said. He's fine.
Never left the safe house. The photo was doctored. I nodded, relief making my knees weak.
I know.
The newspaper gave it away. The next few hours passed in a blur of statements and evidence collection. My quiet retirement had become a crime scene, with federal agents cataloging everything from the bullet holes to the contents of Sheila's pockets. They found a phone on her, Wilson told me later, with recordings. Lots of them.
Of what?
Everything. Your husband's last moments. Conversations with Murdoch. Plans for other families they were targeting. She kept trophies. I thought of the woman I'd welcomed into my family, who'd sat at my dinner table and called me mother while carrying evidence of my husband's murder in her pocket.
What happens now? I asked.
Wilson's face was grim. Now we follow the money. All the way up. Up? I frowned. Higher than Murdoch? He nodded. We think there's someone else. Someone who's been orchestrating everything from the shadows. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Congratulations on surviving round 1. I showed it to Wilson. His face went pale. Round 2 was about to begin. Script part separator . The next morning's headlines screamed Murdoch scandal deepens across every paper in town. My quiet life of retirement had become front-page news, but I barely noticed. I was too focused on that text message and what it meant. Wilson had stationed agents outside my house, but we both knew they wouldn't stop whoever was pulling the strings. This person had orchestrated my husband's death, corrupted an entire financial firm, and nearly destroyed my family. A few FBI agents wouldn't be much of a deterrent. The pieces started falling into place when Gerald called from a safe house. Margaret, I found something in the old case files. Your husband wasn't investigating Murdoch. He was investigating someone called the director. Murdoch was just a middleman. The director? The name sent chills down my spine. A ghost, Gerald explained. Someone who's been manipulating financial firms across the country for decades. Your husband got too close. My phone buzzed again. Ready for your promotion, Mrs. Harrison? I showed Wilson the message. His face hardened. They're offering you Murdoch's position.
Why me? Because you survived. You proved yourself worthy. He paused.
This could be our chance to finally catch them. I thought about my husband, about Sheila's betrayal, about all the other families destroyed by this shadowy figure. What do you need me to do? Accept the offer, Wilson said.
Become what they want you to be.
But this time, we'll be ready. I typed my response. When do I start? The reply came instantly. Tomorrow. Corner of 5th and Main. Wear red.
Come alone. Game on.
The next morning, I stood at 5th and Main wearing a red dress that felt like a target. A black SUV pulled up, and a voice I'd know anywhere called out, "Get in, Margaret." My blood froze. It was Patricia Whitmore, my husband's former police captain.
Surprised?
She smiled as I slid into the passenger seat.
You shouldn't be.
Who else could have known every move your husband made? The director. Of course. She'd been orchestrating everything from the beginning.
Why?
I asked, though I already knew. Power, money, the usual, she shrugged.
Your husband almost exposed me.
Now you'll help me expand, or Ethan will finish what Sheila started. I smiled then, a cold smile I'd learned from weeks of playing this game.
Check your phone, Pat.
Her screen lit up with a live stream. FBI agents raiding her office, finding the evidence I'd helped them plant over the past week. Her face contorted in rage as she reached for her gun, but I was faster. My husband taught me more than just shooting, I said, showing her my wired necklace. He taught me patience. As sirens wailed and agents surrounded the car, I thought about all the quiet mornings ahead. Maybe I'd get back to birdwatching after all. But first, I had some nests to clean out. The director's network crumbled over the next month. Sheila turned state's evidence, Murdoch faced life in prison, and my retirement fund? Let's just say the FBI's reward program is very generous. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold, it's served with compound interest.
The end.
If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, family secrets always come out in the wash or in the federal indictments.